Next up, let's see forms. Forms represents a document section containing interactive controls for submitting information. Here I have an example of a form. I'm sure you have filled forms when you make your own social media account or while doing online shopping, etc. And now let's create a form. The first thing we need is a form element, this one. And this form is like the table element, which we have seen in the last lessons. And this form element is a container. It's like a container, which contains all the inputs like these text input, this email input, password input, and these checkboxes here, all these inputs, and then the button. So form is like a container. And this form element itself won't do anything in our browser because this container is empty, there's nothing inside. And here you can see an action attribute attached in our form tag. And this action attribute specifies where the form data, like all the data which we type inside our form should be sent when we click the submit or the sign up button. So inside this action attribute, we specify the address, like the address that we used to write on our letters back in old days. So our letter is posted to the right place. So for now, let's keep this action attribute empty because for now we're just creating the structure of our form. Yeah, we're just designing the form. So next, let's see how to give these input fields. For these inputs, we need an input element, which is this one, input. Yes, and this input element is a self-closing tag. It has no opening and closing tag, and there's no content in between the input element. This input element have a type attribute, and this type attribute means what type of data should the input field expect from the user. And there are a whole bunch of input types that you can use. Here you can see in the MDM, types can be buttons, checkbox, color, date, time, location. Wait, let me increase the size. You can see, yes, it can be email, file, hidden image, month, number. There are a lot of types that you can use. And the text one is a default value that you can type text inside the box. So let's use text first. Is this text? And then let's give another input. And for this, let's use a password. Save it. Okay, you can see down here, we got a field where we can type text. And then we got another field for the password. See, passwords appear in the dotted form because passwords are confidential data, obviously. And then you can use a lot of inputs like, where is it? Passwords, month, hidden, email. Let's use an email type input with the type of email. Save it. We get another box like this where we can type our email, and then there are more options available. We can go for date, input, type date. Let's save it and see. Yeah, we got another field, and over here we can choose dates, like birth dates or anything like that. And then there are more. Yeah, there's a color option, which is a color picker, like input. Sorry, let's remove these. input color type, and then you can see, yes, you can pick colors using this field, any type of color you want. There are a lot of inputs available which you can use, and then there are checkboxes up here. Checkbox, input type, checkbox. Let's save it. This is how it appears, a small tiny checkbox where you can tick it or untick it. Yeah. And there's one more attribute that you can put inside this input tag, and that's the placeholder attribute. And this placeholder attribute, this placeholder attribute will specify the text that shows up, that will show up in our input field before we type anything. Like for this input field, let's give a placeholder of username. And you save it, you see, yes, we got our username. And when we type something, yeah, the username is gone. We can do the same for the password. Give a placeholder for password. Save it. Yes, we got the same for password. When you type something, the placeholder is gone. You can't do the same for color or the checkbox, because the checkbox is so tiny and the color is not possible. So for the text field, you can do it. Like for email also, you can do it. Placeholder. Email. Save it. Yeah, we got our email placeholder. Yeah, that's for the inputs.